this. You see, the Holy Spirit brings conviction of sin. And so when we welcome the Holy Spirit, we're like, God, I don't want anything to separate me from you. Jesus, thank you for dying on the cross for my sin, but I'm not going to take advantage of that. I don't want to live with anything that's not pleasing you, because we get a glimpse of just how righteous God is and how much we've been forgiven. And then in that glimpse, we also just see that there's a revelation of truth that this life is not all there is. That's why we're going to see it all when we get to heaven. We're going to stand before God someday, and there's going to be a welcoming in, and the Holy Spirit does the work of bringing truth and conviction to our life. And this is a really good thing, because he loves us and he wants us to walk in his ways, because they're just better for us. So I was thinking about this, and one of my favorite stories when it comes to the work of the Holy Spirit just bringing a sweet conviction, a sweet convincing of a way to live, is my mom. So my mom did not grow up in church at all. She did not know Jesus, had really never heard of him. In 1970, she was a hippie. Come on, somebody, anybody, former hippie in here, or a hippie at heart? So she was a hippie, and she actually got invited to a place. She thought there was gonna be really good drugs, and there wasn't drugs. Instead, she was exposed to a man named Jesus. And in that moment, she realized, like, there's something to believe that's more than this life I've been living. You know, in that day and time, everyone was looking for peace and wanting love and looking for this revolution. And instead, Jesus started to sweep the nation with what the movie right now is actually called Jesus Revolution. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but Matt and I couldn't wait to go watch it, because what happened was God started to become so real in the life of so many of these hippies who were turning their life and getting saved, that I'm actually here as a result, because my mom said yes to Jesus, my dad said yes to Jesus. They planted a church in Indiana. I got saved in that church. My husband, Matt Keller, walked into that church at 15. He gave his life to Jesus. He called us to come plant a church here, and the Jesus Revolution began. It wasn't just in California. It swept all the way to Indiana, where my parents were. And so my mom's life was completely transformed in following Jesus. But what I think is so amazing about her testimony is that she hadn't been a Christian for very long, and she wasn't exposed to church, so she didn't know that there were things that you shouldn't be doing. And so no one had preached to her, you should stop swearing and stop smoking and stop drinking. And, you know, she had just come to faith in Jesus, but the Holy Spirit started to do a work in her life. And so I was asking her actually last night, hey, can I share this story? And as I was asking her, she was like, yes. And she retold it. And it was like experiencing it all over again. She said, about a month after I gave my heart to Jesus, I was invited to a party, and they started to pass some, well, she called it dope, which I thought was really cute. I was like, I haven't heard anyone call marijuana dope in a long time. But she said, they passed her some dope, and they're like, do you want some? And she's like, yes, again, because she didn't know. And so she takes that cigarette up to her mouth, and the minute she did, she heard a voice, which is the Holy Spirit, say, you don't need that in your life anymore. And she was like, I don't need this in my life anymore. And she put it down, and she was telling me last night that over those next couple of months, the Holy Spirit just started to expose those things, to convict, to convince. Oh, Allison, I've got a better way for you to live. The taste of this world got less, and the taste of God got more. But it was through the conviction and the convincing power of the Holy Spirit. So we don't have to be the Holy Spirit in other people's lives. We get to actually pray that the Holy Spirit would do a work in everyone's life, but start in me. Start in me. Come on, East. Come on, Cape Coral. Come on, online family. Everybody in this room, would we be willing to say, God, search my heart. Is there anything that's not pleasing? Convict me. Convince me. God, I trust you. I give you permission. Rearrange my thinking. And God, I want to obey you, because he has a better way. He is our affirmation of truth.